work now, you're driving me insane. When you've been doing one thing, but I do it again. I said, I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Decided to give up working, keep them all straight in the head. All the people giving me orders, surely making me see red. I've made the break and I'm free now, playing in a rock and roll band, playing that rock and roll music. I've been trying to get us banned, and I said, I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you anymore.
Hello there, Moonstompers everywhere. I hope you're doing alright. A very warm welcome back to our channel. I'm Mrs Moonstomper.
And I'm Mr Moonstomper. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate your support. You've been nothing short of wonderful.
I know.
The subscriptions,
Gosh.
those have gone up and up and up, and the views as well. So thank you.
Wow.
We couldn't do this without you.
I know.
And even if you weren't there, we'd still do it, although
Yes.
we'd be talking to no one, but really get what
At least it's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much indeed.
Thank you, everybody.
Wherever you are in the world, a massive oi to you guys.
Oi.
Which leads us on to the subject nicely today, Mrs Moonstomper.
Yeah.
Oi.
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 Oi, oi, oi.
Oi yourself.
Oi, back at you.
So, oi, what does that mean? Well, I know what it means actually, but I'm just asking you.
Well, people use the word oi as an expression to say if they've bumped into you or stepped on your toe. You go, oi, that hurt, or oi, watch where you go.
My lasting memories of oi was when I was a young person and being chased. Oi, come back here. But I mean, that's a misspent youth, surely.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a music genre. It's a subculture.
Yeah.
It's a movement, a counterculture, if you will.
That's it.
And it's for predominantly, right, but not exclusively, because there's no such thing as exclusivity in music.
Okay.
But predominantly, that was made by white skinheads, not necessarily all white punks
Oh yes.
for white skinheads.
Okay.
Or it's that
sort of
scene.
intermingled type thing.
It's that scene, and it actually stems back from Boot Boys, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
So cast your mind back to
the video
when we did a video, which was
the Away Days.
the
and
Way
Boot
Days of
Boys.
Boot Boys, yeah.
Bother Boot Boys.
Bother Boot Boys, you know. How very 70s is that,
Oh,
Mrs
God.
Moonstomper?
Bother Boots.
Right, so enough of your bother boots, right. Bands like The Sweet, T-Rex,
Yeah.
the 101ers, Eddie and the Hot Rods,
Oh yes.
all those bands, and Sham 69 as well, a
Okay.
little bit later,
Oh,
and Cocksparrow,
yes.
all had an element of football chant within them, which is the oi oi oi. That's what that is.
All right. It's all lively and loud, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it's
Yes.
very, very mob driven.
Right.
So, but the oi, that wasn't coined till way later,
Oh.
and it was Gary Bush, also the Journey's Gary Bush.
Music journalist.
Yeah, that's right. Who wrote for? I think he wrote for Sounds, if I remember
Sound
rightly.
magazine, right?
I'm sure it was.
Okay.
And he coined that phrase to sort of capture all those bands. So there were
Yeah.
bands such as Screwdriver,
Yes.
Business, Four Skins, Cocksparrow.
About evil conduct.
There you go. Yeah,
Yes.
all those bands. A lot of those London based, funny
Yes.
enough. And
Cockney Rejects.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they were skinheads.
Okay. Yes.
There were skins through and through, and the only trouble is which one's the right wing and which one's the left wing.
You can't really tell, can you, until you get to know them.
Exactly.
That's the only way you're going to identify and find out.
Exactly that. So I've spent all my life, well, I no longer do it now, but I've spent all my life trying to justify myself to other people who look at me when I dress the way I do.
The prejudged, don't they?
And holy hell do they ever? They look at me and they go, oh my god, here comes a neo-Nazi, here comes a national front supporter, here comes, you know, and I've heard it all, and it's nothing of the sort, absolutely nothing of the sort, couldn't be further from the truth.
I know.
But it's the way you look. Yeah, exactly. We've only been husband and wife for way over 30 years, but you know, that's just the way.
That's society, isn't it? People look at you and judge.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But going back to Gary Bushell, whether he was naive or not, I don't know. And then going back to the mainstream media, whether they drove a narrative, but they both drove narratives.
Well, media, that's the media for you, isn't it?
It is indeed. So, right, Gary Bushell coined that phrase, and he wrote all those bands in together.
Yes.
And he did it, and I think he did it naively.
Okay.
There was a bit of naivety there. He was a young person, Tommy, in Germany, he wanted to make an impression. And the crux of the issue was that he made a compilation LP, which was Strength Through Oi. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, apart from there were fundamental flaws. Right, flaw number one was the picture on the front was a skinhead known as, I think, Nicky Crane, if I remember rightly.
Yes.
And he was a British movement activist who went to, I think he went to jail for 4 years for some sort of racism, some sort of racist incident, or I don't know. I've not looked into that, and it's not for me to prejudge that guy. He did what he did, and what happened, and I wasn't there to witness it.
No.
So what do I know? And you can only go by what you hear and see in the media. And to be honest with you, I don't always believe the media.
You have to be there to like you said, you have to be there to see for yourself and to know.
You do indeed. You absolutely do indeed. But to compound things even more, Strength Through Oi was actually a play on words. So it was Strength Through Joy. Was the original slogan. Now, the Skids actually did not play called Strength Through Joy. If I remember rightly, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, in the comments below, guys. But what we'll do is we'll put that on the screen to confirm it. Because this is a bit off the cuff. We haven't rehearsed this at all. But also, if I'm correct in saying, but I could be wrong again, I believe it was the Nazi Party slogan. Strength Through Joy. As far as I'm aware, but I could be wrong. And those were the fundamental flaws of that LP. But there were events leading up to that that really slammed the whole genre, subculture or counterculture, whatever you want to call it. So, as a young black girl growing up in the West Midlands, and the West Midlands that's a big urban sprawl, but it's connected towns and cities. So it's very industrial. It's very condensed, very compact, with millions of people. Big suburbs. And people around here have had the finger on the pulse and have followed the latest fashions over here. Now I'm from sort of 20-30 miles down the road away from this where you grew up in Wolverhampton, and I'm from Birmingham, and Birmingham was probably the same deal there actually, full of skinheads, full of punks. So as a young black female, question for you: growing up, when you did and you saw skinheads, how did you feel?
Well, as a little child in the 70s, to my little self, seeing a skinhead would be scary for me. Because where I grew up, it was multicultural.
Right.
So stepping outside of that area, and you see a skinhead or a punk, I'd look up, being so tiny, I'd look up and see this person and feel very, very afraid.
Very intimidating.
Yes. Because, like, the person the little person would it know any better not to prejudge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what happens.
And a lot of people
When you're
feel,
young and
a
little.
lot of people feel like that in society. So it's literally the amount of times I've walked down the road,
Yeah.
or there's been a group who's walked down the road, and the amount of people who will cross over the road.
Gosh.
They just cross, they just go all like that, and I can see, I can tell from the body language straight away
Yes.
exactly what's going on there.
It's the way they shift, isn't it? The way they look, give you a sideways look when they've crossed the road.
It is definitely.
Yes.
It is. Or when I walk into different shops and you can see people looking, going, ooh, or a different bar or wherever, and you can see
What
people
eyes
looking,
are on
going,
you?
is there going to be trouble with this one? Well, actually, no, there's not.
No.
You know, but it's, and what I'm saying is, people judge on looks.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Prejudge.
And that was part of the problem with Oi music, was the look that went with it. So
Yes.
with the skinhead of the 60s, it was about the Brutus, stay pressed, yes, the big boots still,
Oh yeah.
maybe the donkey jackets and the braces.
Yeah.
But when it got to my era of skin, we wore bomber jackets.
Yes.
Bomber jackets, bleached
So the-
jeans.
Is that the olive coloured jacket, the Alpha?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, we wore those, and then docks as well, black docks or cherry reds.
Yes.
Cherry reds with yellow laces, and there was actually a code in Jersey. I remember that red laces in black docks was a signifier of neo-Nazism.
Gosh.
Well, so some people said.
Yes.
And guess what I wear to this day?
Your black ducks and your red laces.
Absolutely, and I don't care.
No, why should you?
I don't care a jot what people
Why the
think
heck should
anymore,
you, man?
because I got to the point of not wanting to justify myself anymore.
No.
But I'm way too old for that game.
Just imagine you got fed up and tired of
Exactly.
trying to justify.
Yeah, but going
to
back,
someone.
because we digressed there completely, so I do apologise. But going back to Oi music, now in my mind, that's a fusion of like the old stuff.
Yes.
So when you hear the sweet, it was very, very shouty, wasn't it?
Yeah, especially when he sang Ballroom Blitz
And Fox on the Run and stuff like
Blockbuster
that.
as well.
Blockbuster, absolutely.
Very shouty.
Very, very shouty. And it was very, very anthem driven, anthemic almost. So when you hear Sham 69,
Yeah.
which is actually named after a football club after all,
Oh yeah.
and then you hear their lyrics, it's very, very anthemic again.
Yeah, especially when the Sham bit, especially when they sang Hersham Boys.
Well, that's it. That's just it.
Was it Hersham? They saw a bit of graffiti somewhere. Got Hersham 1969.
It was something Hersham Football Club. I can't remember which now. So I can't remember. We'll put it on the screen again.
That's how they got the band's name anyway. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
they saw that bit of graffiti, so they just went Sham 69.
Yeah,
So the last
sure.
lot sort of few did it. So it was kind of cool.
Oh yes, yes.
But that band had massive problems, enormous problems. So when Skinheads went to their concerts, and unknowingly and unwittingly to them, what's the difference between a racist skinhead and a non-racist
So you go
skinhead?
back to
Because
that again,
they
don't
look
we?
the same, don't they?
Yes.
They do.
You can't
So,
differentiate until.
so you're letting those guys in because it was very skinhead orientated music
yes.
and very football orientated music with the
Yes.
chanting. Which one's which? You're not going to know which one's which until I actually open them out or do something that proves it.
Something out of pocket.
Yeah, and they got things out of pocket, completely out of pockets. They got things that were really, really, really quite bad. In fact, really, really bad, to the point where Jimmy Percy, who was the lead singer of Sham 69,
Yes.
wanted to give up in its entirety.
Who's to blame him?
Yeah, absolutely. More than
That's not what he's about, though.
No, not when you've got like 50 people rioting at your concert. It's just like, hang on a moment.
Smashing the place up.
Yeah, this is about the music. It's not about the
Yes.
politics, actually. So, let's screw the politics, excuse me. But that needs to go. And do you know what? I think I've had enough of politics recently.
Oh, gosh.
And
It's like half the world as well.
well, yeah, if you live in the United Kingdom, if you live in actually the USA, you've probably got the same over there, right here, right now.
Yeah.
And in France as well, guys,
yes.
And it's just an absolute, it's a puppet show, isn't it? It really is. And it's just which puppet gets in next, because to be honest with you, they're all probably the same, aren't they?
So frustrating, it really is.
But then again, we digress completely.
Yes.
So, yeah, so punks. So is it the same as punk music? Well, you know, it sounds the same.
It's like a mixture, isn't it? Like a mixture of styles and sounds.
It sounds the same, but that's the only parallel I'm going to draw from there. And I think it was so a band called The Business, which was a good old boy band. I think it was Steve Kent. Steve Kent hit the nail on the head. And what he actually said about punk. So what he actually said about punk was that it's a bunch of university students basically trying to impress people by using big words, basically middle class words. Which is, if you saw our punk video, so a lot of the American punks, you guys are absolutely cool, and you guys...
It's way different.
You guys, right, so you guys in the USA got it to a T.
Yes.
And you didn't have to glue your hair, you didn't have to wear your ripped clothes.
That's it.
You liked the punk, and that was it. It was a music, and it was a lifestyle for you. In London especially, it just became a thing for middle class wannabes. That's what I think.
Yes.
That's what I think. But some great music came out of it, incidentally, as well. Some really great music.
Yes.
But there you go. But we kind of digress. But that music's very, very similar. Overdriven guitars, fast beats, a lot of shouting.
Yes.
And basically, skinheads were crying out for their own identity. So the skinhead of the 60s, they'd taken the identity of Jamaican Movements.
Yes,
with wasn't the same clothing, unless they were wearing nice suits, but the bobber boots and the donkey jacket.
And the shaven hair as well.
And like we said, that went, and it went into what year, sort of 70s and 80s skinhead wore, where it was actually a bone head cut. It was just like my hair now, nothing there at all.
Smooth.
Absolutely. And the braces, the t-shirts, and the jeans, and it became very military looking. Yeah, and it was a different thing. It became very military.
Yes.
So it was a completely different look.
Especially when the NF and all these movements recruited people.
Well,
it was like like you said, it was like military, like a uniform for them, weren't it?
It was, so it was, very disaffected youth, singing about disaffected problems such as unemployment, workers' rights, about things like being pulled over by the police.
Oh yeah.
And your
typical stop and search.
Your typical stop and search. Yes. And I can't remember who it was who said now. I've got a feeling it could have been Screwdriver, it could have been Combat 84.
Oh, right.
It was one of those guys who turned around. I think it was actually, it could have been Screwdriver, where he actually turned around and said, look, he said, black people going about these stop and search. He said, look, white skinheads get a hard time with the going on. But what I can tell you is this. As a skinhead, you can change your appearance. If you're black, you can't be changing that, can you? Not anytime soon. But I just thought I'd add that. And I'm not sort of pushing a race card at all. This programme is not about that. And I don't want it to be about that at all. About a narrative or anything like that.
So it's the fact what you just put out there.
Well, yeah, but I just thought I'd say that.
Yeah.
But then again, why should you change? Why would you want to change?
I know.
I'm not changing for anybody.
You shouldn't have to.
No, exactly that. Exactly that. So going back to Gary Bushell. So Gary Bushell's naivety, and I think it was I've got to think it was the Daily Mail who decided to make an example of that.
Okay.
But where it really, really came to a head was, I think it was the 4th of July 1981.
Okay.
There was a concert in Southall, at whichever pub it was, and the area it was in was of a high Asian population.
Oh yes.
And I think the business were playing there, the Foreskins, and it could have been a Screwdriver, if I remember rightly. They were playing a gig at this place, literally 500 skinheads turned up. So on the way there, you got a few NF slogans here and there, windows smashed, and then the Asians retaliated, the pub got burnt down. There was 5 hours of rioting where 120 people were injured. Can you believe that? And that's when the media really drove the narrative that Oi was a racist movement.
So when you said Gary Bushell coined the phrase Oi, that was for that sub-genre, weren't it?
Yes, it was.
That,
now,
yeah,
the reason he did that was, right, the reason that got where he got Oi from was Stinky Turner of the Cockney Rejects. Before he'd introduced song, he'd go Oi like that, and that was
then
his
start to play.
That was his little thing before he go Oi. This is like what's that? And it was just it's a Cockney thing. It just is. It's just you know Oi is another one for you. Oi, it just is. And it just became a thing. It just became a thing, and it snowballed, and it's got to start somewhere. Right, and I'm not saying it actually started from there, but that's the most popular sort of urban legend that I've got about that. But I don't know if I'm 100% right, but I've got a feeling that sounds about right to me.
Okay. Mr Moonstomper, the word Oi, you mentioned it's a Cockney thing.
Yeah.
That was in the song, The Lambeth War. And I'll be going off topic right now, but I just thought I'd mention the Lambeth War.
Yeah.
Doing the Lambeth War at the end of the Oi! They mentioned that in that song.
That's very wartime, isn't it? That?
Yes.
Something like that.
That was for entertainment, and when the songs like Mother Brown, these at Mother Brown.
So, what I want to know is, right, so guys, if you guys are from London, right, where songs like that came from, so that come from the East End of London, I've got a feeling. Lambeth.
Yes.
Is Lambeth's actually set? Is that South London? Could well be.
Could well.
Right, I can't remember, so I'm not big on London.
Okay,
apart from it's an amazing city, so if you can go there for a day out, apart from that speaks to you. But I digress completely there. Do you actually walk like that in London?
Like this.
I just wondered. Now, I saw Dick Van Dyke do it on Mary Poppins, but I know he's not from London.
Oh gosh, no. American indeed.
He is, with the worst London accent ever heard. And I've got a feeling you guys in London do not walk like that at all.
Well, it's for the dance anyway. It's like a pre-World War II dance.
And the dress up as Pearly Queens and Pearly Kings.
I think so.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Also,
go on then.
In Blur's Part Life, it starts by singing, Oi! You're a window smasher, and you hear, Oi!
That's Jimmy out of Quadrophenia. What's his name? Phil Daniels.
Phil Daniels.
Yeah, I knew that. So there you go. So on that note, Quadrophenia and smashing windows and Jimmy out of Quadrophenia. I don't even know why I said that. Shall we show the viewers of ET?
Yes,
while we go for a cup of tea?
Yes.
What do you reckon? So, what do you reckon?
Bourne. Have a break and a tea.
And a wee. And we'll be back in 3. There you go.
The actual National Front leaders at that time did any of the work towards white noise. They left it to the people involved in the bands, but they just pocketed all the money. Now we in the bands actually in the end got a little bit fed up of it, because what was meant to be happening, the money made by White Noise Records was meant to go to bring out more records and bring more nationalist groups into the actual recording studios and get out material. But in the end, the National Front leaders, which were the two that actually had control, which was Patrick Harrington and Derek Holland, they actually were using the money more for the political side of things, which was National Front News and Nationalism Today, the magazine.
If the front wanted the skinheads' money, it didn't want them as recruits. These are street fighters, cannon fodder to the front, not its clean-cut young cadre members to be trained in the politics of revolution.
These musicians are outcasts, the lepers of the music business. They've been banned by the radio stations, boycotted by record shops, blacklisted by promoters. The last time they played a concert was in July this year, and tonight they're playing in secret in the back room of a pub in Kent in an attempt to clear their name. The landlord thinks he's booked a country and western band. He couldn't be further from the truth.
This burnt-out shell is all that's left of the last place that band, the Four Skins, played in. This is the Hambra Tavern in Southall, a largely Asian immigrant area. And it was here that 3 so-called Oi bands, including the Four Skins, came on July the 3rd to play a concert. They brought with them hundreds of skinhead fans, many of them known National Front supporters, who'd been brought in by coach from the East End of London some 20 miles away. Before the concert, some of the skinheads assaulted elderly Asians in the street, and they daubed shop windows with National Front slogans. Later that night, the Asians retaliated, and what followed turned into a full-scale race battle.
Asian youth threw petrol bombs and bricks through the windows of the Hamborough Tavern. They fought with skinheads outside, and by the end of the evening, 110 people were in hospital, and the police had made dozens of arrests.
From early evening, as soon as we found that our community was being invaded and our women being beaten up by the skinheads, it was a complete shock. And, you know, we were sort of further shocked by the fact that the police, there was no response from the police. That here you had large groups of people, fascist people, who were doing Nazi-type salutes, writing NF on the condensation of the windows, and abusing all the Asians here, that, you know, police still don't do anything.
The Foreskins claim to this day that they're not racist, and that they weren't to blame for the riot.
Package just went a bit mad, didn't they? Just went over the top.
Well, they were provoked, weren't they?
Who provoked them? We didn't. The Asians come up, they was in force, they used that gig as an excuse to put out their little bit of violence, have their say on the riot. It was just an excuse for them. We was Andy scapegoat, that's all.
But don't you feel, in a way, guilty? Because, I mean, you're the focus of all that, aren't you?
Well, I don't feel guilty about nothing.
The press was merciless in its attack on the Oi bands. They were branded as right-wing extremists, racists, a dangerous influence on the young. Those in the music business who had flirted with them were condemned as being evil or naive.
Naivety is probably the right word when you examine the whole style of the Oi bands. They're pro-violence, anti-black, anti-police. It's no wonder they attract Nazi skinhead followers. These are just a few of the words from the typical Oi songs. Boots are made for booting, guns are made for shooting. If you see the enemy, you're sure to stick the boot in. And again, black youth standing in the lights, crowding together, they're ready to fight. The army's in shooting is the rage. They want to lock them up, put them in their cage. There's blood on the streets.
The music trade quickly decided that Oi music was too closely associated with extremist politics for comfort, and that violence, whether it came from left or right, was bad for business. Suddenly it became embarrassing to be associated with Oi music at all. But for all their public condemnation of the bands, at least one major record company quietly went on making money out of them.
This record caused quite a fuss when it was released earlier this year, not so much for its musical content as for the title, Strength Through Oi. It's based on a Nazi slogan, Strength Through Joy. And the man on the front cover turns out to be a neo-Nazi, now serving a prison sentence. What's surprising about this record is that it wasn't produced by a small label, but by one of the giants, Decca. They won't make any official comment today, but they do say that the record has been deleted. That is flatly denied by the manager of this shop. He says he can get hold of as many copies as he likes, and that this record makes a lot of money for Decca Records.
It's been argued that if the Southall riot hadn't broken out, Oi music, even with its violent subversive overtones, wouldn't have come under attack. But Peter Bradley of the Institute for Contemporary Studies believes that Oi music was, in his own words, a political tinderbox well before the July riot. Just before the disturbances, his organisation completed a report on the extreme right-wing influence on rock music.
There is a serious problem, and that is basically that the National Front, the British Movement and other smaller groups have made considerable inroads amongst young people of the inner cities in rock concerts. They've stirred up a lot of hatred, they've provoked a lot of violence inside the concerts. And our feeling is that some groups anyway, have not helped matters by really being rather ambiguous in their statements against National Front or supporters of National Front, and sometimes in saying nothing at all, and behaving in a very provocative manner.
The British movement is a Nazi movement. Smash the British movement. The British movement is a Nazi movement. Smash the British movement.
It was to counteract the influence of the right-wing political groups on pop music that the Rock Against Racism campaign was started in the late 1970s. It was an attempt to counter the growing feeling among some pop musicians that fascism could be fun. Ideas which disturbed influential disc jockeys like Radio 1's John Peel.
So there has been, which I think is unfortunate, but it exists, there has been really since the very beginning of punk, in fact perhaps before that, but most notably noticeably from 1976-77 onwards, a sort of flirtation with Nazi imagery, which people justify as saying that they find fascinating, the Berlin of the 1930s and so on. But I mean, the original punks always swathed in swastikas and so on. And then there have been, there was an LP sleeve by the Skids, who was certainly not an oi band, which was very kind of Aryan and Nazi wall posterish. And the bands like Joy Division, whose very name is derived from, from some SS sub-organisation, and the band which have followed them called New Order, which is again a Nazi-derived name. So there's always been this, which I regard as unpleasant flirtation with it.
Recently, there have been more worrying parallels with the Germany of the 1930s. High unemployment in Britain, especially among the young and the unskilled, has made working-class whites ideal recruiting material for extreme right and left-wing political organisations. The chosen recruiting ground was obvious. Those places where large numbers of young, disaffected whites congregated. Football stadiums and halls where pop music was played.
This is an issue of a magazine produced by the Young National Front and aimed specifically at young, white, working-class kids. Inside there is a pop column which singles out various bands which the National Front claims are their bands, something denied by many of the bands mentioned. Now, I've been speaking to the editor of this paper, Joe Pearce, who, by the way, refuses to appear in front of our cameras. And he claims that the oi bands in particular are National Front bands, that they're in a way the musical wing of the National Front. And he claims that if they deny it, then they must face the consequences. Trouble like the trouble which ended the career of a band called Sham 69.
Hey, welcome back everybody. I sure do hope you enjoyed that VT.
I hope you did as well.
Yeah.
Because we do put some effort into it sometimes.
Yes.
No, we do, honestly.
Definitely, yeah.
We do. Yeah, so, where were we? Oi.
Oi.
Absolutely.
Oi.
Right. So, coming out of Oi, right, because Oi got a real bad rap off the main press.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean
they do.
Real bad rap. And that's unfair. It really is unfair.
It's
completely unfair. But there were white power groups within that. Although, what I'd say with that, and what actually Gary Bushell said with that, is it's not the same.
No.
It's not the same. Everyone's got something to moan about.
Yeah.
But you've got a different thing to moan about, but it's not the same.
Okay.
It's absolutely not at all.
No.
But because of that, something sprung up out of that. People went on the back foot, and they went, especially oi bands, after that riot, they went, you know what, like, guys, you know, you need to know, you absolutely need to know, we are not those guys, we're not inciting anything, other than we're playing our music, and we love our lifestyle, and that's what it's about. And so what came out of that, can you remember exactly?
Oh, the Trojan, SHARP, Sharp.
So skinheads
against racial prejudice.
Absolutely.
SHARP.
Where they've got the Trojan logo and they've flipped it around because it actually looked better the other way around.
Oh, nice.
According to the guy who did it. Now, I can't remember the guy's name who did that. What we'll do is we'll put it on the screen because I think that guy's actually still around, believe it or not.
Oh, nice.
And that was an absolute great idea. However, what I'm going to say is, right, that's a great idea for some people.
For some.
And at that point in time, I would have bought into that, and I would have worn a badge like that, because it was I got sick of having to justify myself, or everywhere I went I had to justify myself, and it kind of it grates on you after a bit.
Yes.
Where you
Just
literally, you then become a victim. It turns around the other way. You then become a victim without realising you're a victim. So you go, hang on a moment. You just actually abused me. You just said something about me. Now,
you don't even know.
No, if you're a skinhead, you'll stand up for your honour. You will stand up for your honour. Blood and honour, but that's different. That's a group. That's a different group altogether. What I'll say is this. Right, Sharp came out and that changed everything completely. But like I say, I don't have to justify myself. And if I got to get to that point, then the person I'm speaking to is really shallow and they're not worthy of my attention.
No.
And that's the way I look at it. And I know that's arrogance as well. But
it's true though.
I just got to feel that way because as you get older, time gets more precious.
Yes, oh yes.
And I haven't got time to deal with absolute knobs, to be honest with you. So, after that, right, so bands like Combat 84, they were coming to the fore as well. Yes. And with bands like that, literally, they were placed on the back foot. They were accused of being right wing. They were accused their lyrics were, and they never said a right wing thing in their life. It was just, there was a couple of things they said, a couple of songs like that, perhaps.
Okay.
I don't know, they don't regret making those, surely not. No. But it's the way people say things out of context.
They do, don't they?
They do indeed. So I dropped off after a bit.
Yes.
It completely dropped off because it's like I say, it's a subculture. It's a genre, and genres are quick moving.
Yes.
They're just really, really quick moving. The genre can come and go within 6 months, can it not? It just becomes the latest fad, the latest fashion, and people get bored of it. On to the next thing.
Else, yes.
Yeah, but there was still the diehards in the background.
Oh, yeah.
So those bands were still, a lot of those bands were still going.
Okay, but never in the forefront, so to speak.
No, they were quite on the back foot actually.
Oh, yes.
So bands like Combat 84,
yes.
they were literally undone by movements. Like there was a movement called Combat 18, which is like an extreme right wing movement.
Oh gosh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, extreme. To do with the, and they were in cahoots with, dare I say, like the Chelsea Headhunters. Combat 18, Combat 84, it doesn't sound the same,
No.
I know the difference between 18 and 84. It's like, well, yeah, exactly, 66, like that, the 66 the difference.
Yeah.
But some people can't read and they can't add up, can they? Quite obviously not. Yeah, exactly, they haven't got enough fingers and toes, have they? So they thought Combat 84, that's a racist thing, and it's not.
No.
It's not. So things like that put those groups on the back foot.
Yes. What about Evil Conduct?
Evil Conduct. I love Evil Conduct.
Yes.
I think they're just so cool. It's just you hear that and you go Evil Conduct. It's got to be the worst thing ever, and it's not.
Bad,
those guys are like they stand up for what they believe in, and it's really, really good music. I love it. It's so anthemic. It really is. It's really, really. If you're in a bad mood, if you need a really good hard gym workout, if you need to do something that's just, if you just need that,
let off some steam.
Yeah, go listen to some of that. It's brilliant. It's really, really good for that. It really is. And they're just living the dream. Those guys, absolutely living the dream. Really are. But a lot of those died off. Like you said, they didn't die off. They just went.
Lay dormant for a bit.
They did because other things happened.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the early 90s where there was actually a bit of a resurgence. And what I'll say is, England is a tiny place.
Yeah.
It's a tiny, tiny place. And the skinheads in America is massive. Australia, Japan, Germany, Poland, everywhere. There was skinheads everywhere.
Oh yes.
And
in the Orient and Far East as well. Oh, you just said, didn't you?
Yeah, I did Japan, yeah. Yes. Absolutely massive. And it's a big, big thing.
It is.
And no matter what kind of a skinhead you are, if you're a skinhead, you're a skinhead, you're a skinhead. So people think.
Okay.
But I would say another film that undid skinheads, right, but it's a great film, I love that film, Mrs Moonstomper.
Oh, Mrs Moonstomper.
Which was an absolutely amazing film. but if you listen to the soundtrack, if you watch it, it's so right wing. But it's of the day,
Yes.
and it's actually on point.
Of course.
It's on point for what people are actually feeling, and I'm not going to condone any of that at all, because you know, each their own and all that, and it's not for me to. It's not for me to preach to people. It's not for me to follow the people. Everybody knows their own mind, and people do what they want to do. I don't really care about that.
Just keep it over there.
That's it, as long as it doesn't affect me.
Same here.
But Romper Stomp for me was the film that sort of gave it a resurgence.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, a massive resurgence. So if you haven't seen that film, I know we said it on the original Skinhead video.
We did.
Go and watch that film because it's got a really good twist to it as well.
Yes,
it's got an amazing twist to it, it really has. But it's you know, and in Australia as well,
Australia,
you know, and that's the first time that I knew Australia were the same as Great Britain.
Oh yes.
That's the first time, because all we ever saw of Australia on the TV was absolutely like awful programmes, awful TV programmes.
Home and Away Neighbours.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys know how to make a programme over there.
Isn't it so Black Age?
With the wobbly walls, yeah. That's it, yeah. But seeing that film for me was just like, that was an eye-opener.
I've seen it as well. I've seen it a couple of times already.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was a resurgence, wasn't it?
Yes.
It really was. And then, you know, going back to, was it Made in
England?
But there's a thing, and a lot of people think all skinheads don't exist anymore. It's a massive thing now.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely massive.
Open your eyes and look around. They're there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when we started this channel. We were bowled over with how many people actually got in the comments and went, "Oi," from wherever you are in the world. I was like, "Wow, God, there is life out there." But and the resurgence it had as well. So groups like the Dropkick Murphys, they cited oi bands as their inspiration. They went, it's those guys that actually inspired us to make music. And Rancid as well was another one. So they're kind of like sort of punk style bands, aren't they? US punk style bands. But it was those guys who said those British oi bands were the ones who sort of spurred them on. But then you've got the American oi bands as well. So you had bands like US Chaos, Iron Cross, Agnostic Front, Anti-Heroes, those guys as well. And it's just, you know, again, it's just like, it's like wow. But, you know, American Skins, there's some absolutely amazing, you know, amazingly, it really is. Yeah, exactly. And those guys as well. So wherever you are in the world, if you're a skin, you feel it like I feel it as well. Where you've got to try and justify yourself or not justify yourself. And the mainstream media, have done that.
Yes.
They've done that, and films as well, like American History X.
Oh yes.
You know, when I looked at that, I mean, yeah, wow, it's a brilliant film. But I looked at that and I was like, wow. But you know, but then people think I'm like that.
No.
People think I actually stand up for that. You know, but they do. But you can't take no notice.
Really.
You can sit there. You can sit there, but you of all people should know better than that. Just for that reason, because it's like, and you guys out there, you'll feel it too. So, Mrs Moonstomper.
Yes, Mr.
Have you got anything else?
We've covered most of the ground around already. I believe there's more ground to cover, but for now...
There is, we'll park that because we've got more to... Yes, there is more to it. We could do more of that, but you know what? We don't want to make it too overly long and too boring. So, what have we got coming up next time?
Magic of Motown.
Oh wow! Now we love a bit of Motown at Moonstomper's hours, don't we? We love a bit of that. So we hope you like it too. You're not going to want to miss that one. It will be absolutely amazing. It really will be. Guys, thank you so much for the support.
Everybody.
You're all Moonstomper OGs, and a massive oi to wherever you are in the world. So, have you got anything else, Mrs Moonstomper?
And that's all, folks.
Every time. Okay, well there you
Gets
go.
him every time.
He does indeed, yeah, absolutely. So until the next time, guys, peace and love.
Until next
Thank you for
time.
watching. Cheers.
Love ya.